Well, hey, how's everybody doing? I was just getting ready to start pulling apart this engine, and something in the back of my head is just screaming at me, pull the pan off that other block, check out that other block. And I'm talking about the one on the floor over there, not the one on the stand, but that one. That's the 010 block, it's a high nickel block, 4-bolt main. I knew all this already. I never took the pan off of it because it was seized up. I thought it had a thrown rod. And something was just screaming at me, pull that pan off. Well, for a lot of my guys have been here a while. Some of my older subscribers, they see me pull that engine on the stand. They see me pull that apart and how clean it was. I think I did that on a live stream. Maybe, I don't know. But that thing was real clean on the inside. And it turned out to be, a really good engine after I rebuilt it and put all new parts in it. Well, some, bearings and rings and cam and lifters and stuff like that. So, I don't know, something was telling me just pull the pan off that thing and just make sure it's got a thrown rod, and that way, because I'd done ruled it out. I was like, well, that thing's junk, I pulled the pan off that thing, and that thing is cleaner on the inside than this one was. I don't understand it, but that thing is cleaner on the inside than this one was. And I've also noticed it's got paint on the inside of it where somebody has painted it. So there's paint on the crankshaft, there's paint on the rods. So I'm thinking, okay, I gotta tear this apart. But let me grab my flashlight. You guys ain't gonna believe it. I can't believe how good this thing looks. I mean, this one was clean on the inside. And that turned out to be a really good engine, but this one is, I'm not 100% sure, but I think somebody's had this apart and they rebuilt it and didn't do something right. So there's orange paint places there shouldn't be, but man, that light is not helping the situation here. It's just the crank's dirty, but all the rods look brand new in it. So that thing's just telling me somebody's been in there and either pulled it out of the truck and they painted it or something. I don't know. The camshaft's flat. Like, the camshaft's got a bunch of wipe lobes on it, and all the valve train was messed up. Half of the rocker arms was worn, half the ends of the push rods were chewed off. I thought it had been starved of oil. And I mean, it very well could have. I mean, the cam bearings could be shot or something, but sitting here looking at this thing, man, it's real clean on the inside, and all these rods look they look like brand new. Everything kind of still got that real nice gold tint to it. I mean, everything just looks great on the inside. So this thing seized up. I'm thinking, okay, did it spin a rod bearing? Did it spin a main bearing? Is it stuck from sitting? Because one thing I've noticed, it looked like it sat upside down or something, or the oil that was in this thing. Okay, when I was doing these heads, I've already cleaned all the valves and everything too. Shoot, I can't show you. When I was cleaning these heads in the intake chambers and some of the combustion chambers, there's still a little bit in this one, and you can't see that. But it was literally like a black tar. It's like the oil in that engine had sat so long that it turned into tar or something. And all the pistons, you can see where there's a streak of oil down the cylinder walls, and around the gap where the rings are, it just looks like all that oil is hard. I'm wondering if that thing ain't stuck from just sitting, and that was a good running engine or something, other than the camshaft was flat and the valve train was wrecked. I mean, it had antifreeze in the block. That was paired up to that transmission over there in the corner. It had antifreeze in the block when I was moving it around because I was spilling the shit everywhere. And it had oil in it. So I'm thinking it's time to, I don't know. This screwed up my whole plan because I was getting ready to pull this engine apart, stick the crank in it, the new rods in it, all new bearings, camshaft lifters, pistons, everything. But Man, I tell you what, if that block's good, that's the heavy duty school bus casting block or whatever. I was talking to TLC Bear, I can't show you, but there's casting on the inside of the, underneath the intake, there's casting marks and reinforcements. There's reinforced casting all over that block. The webbing's different around the main caps, everything's kind of different between that block and this block here. That's a stronger block. That would be the better one to do what I'm doing with. So, and I mean, whether I build this one or whether I build this one, I got everything I need. The only thing I wouldn't have for this engine is a high volume oil pump and an oil pan, because I wanted to use that big kicked out pan. And I mean, they're both driver's side dipsticks, and they're both the same block pretty much, except for that's a heavy duty one. So that pan will fit right on that engine with that oil pump if I had to. Or the pan that's on the engine in my work truck now is a driver's side dipstick. I wouldn't be opposed to using that pan because it looks like an aftermarket, like at least a 6-quart pan. That's an 8-quart pan. I could use that pan on there and all I'd have to get was an oil pump. But I mean, I got all the parts to do that with if I use those heads over there on the table, the heads that came off of that engine. I was going to use those heads because I was thinking gas mileage. Those heads would for sure definitely flow better. The only problem with this head, these set of heads, I ran into a problem. Like I said, everything was full of that black tar crap, so when I was pulling the valves out, everything was super duper tight, no play in it. I thought all the valve guides were good. Well, after I cleaned all the valves, ported everything, cleaned everything, once I started putting the valves back in it, they're all just a hair loose. So that's not that big of a deal, but one valve in particular bothered me, and it was the last damn one I did, all the way back here. And this is a different valve, which ain't a big deal, because if you watch my last videos, that head on one side has this style of valve in it, the head on the other side has this style of valve in it, the flat ones, and he said that was just a change in production or something. They did something, they're both pretty much the same, which by looking at them you'd think that would have just a teeny tiny bit less compression because of that little dip there, but it's a thicker valve and it seats higher up in the combustion chamber, so I'd say it's about the same. But this valve doesn't match all the other ones. This valve is out of another head, and it wore the valve guide. So I can't really do valve guides here in my shop. I don't have the I don't have the tooling to do it. I don't have the machine to do it. I don't have a press. I'm sure there's a way I could do that at home, and I can't use the small chamber heads off that 305 that's in the work truck, or the old set of heads off my truck, because the combustion chamber's too small and it'll hit the dome of the piston. So it's looking like I'm still going to need a pair of heads off this engine, unless I hate to. I hate TBI heads, but I do have a good set of TBI heads on that engine right there. Man, I'd hate to do that. That's the exact opposite of what I need. I'm probably going to use these. I don't know. I'm going to have to stop and think. I might try to use those heads. I might try to find a different set of heads. But I could build that block and all I'd really need is an oil pump. And I mean, I could borrow one. So yeah, now the plan has probably changed, because that's a good running engine, there ain't nothing wrong with it. It's got less than 10 hours on it. I hate to tear it apart when I could build that one. It would just be, a bunch of cleaning and a bunch more work. Like as it was, I was going to pull that apart, throw it together, put it in the work truck, break it in. This thing, I'd have to clean it. But on the other hand, I was going to have to clean this anyway, because I got to do a bunch of oiling mods in that block to let the oil drain back down to the pan faster, because more RPM, more oil flow, more volume, more oil to drain back. And as these small block Chevys are, you get them above 6,500, 7,000, and they blow that off, blow this out, and blow that out because they're filling the whole top end of the motor with oil, and it pressurizes the engine. It blows a bunch of gaskets out. They don't like running high RPMs without a little bit of modification. So I could do that to that block. Go ahead, grind everything, do all the work I need to do, hone it out, clean it up, and just build that one. And I got this to fall back on, but either way, I mean, I'm going to have to either put all the new valve springs and retainers and everything in these heads or those heads or some kind of head somewhere. So I'm thinking about, I might happen to have a van over at my buddy's house that's got a set of Vortec heads on it. The only problem with that is then I'd have to buy an intake. So I'd love to use them Vortec heads. That would go real nice on what I'm doing here. So yeah, I don't know. I got a lot to think about, a little bit to figure out. The main thing is figure out why that block is seized. From looking at it, that block is seized from sitting. Like the oil got hard in it, or it leaked fuel, and something happened to where the damn thing was full of tar. So I can't really show you any of that unless I tip the engine over, and I don't want to do that because I don't want to bend the pickup on the oil pump. But in another video, there should be, maybe not, I don't know. In another video I pulled the heads off of it, but I think it was a live stream and I don't think it really showed anything. I think I did that to measure if it was a 327, 302, or 350, because they made them blocks into all three the year these blocks were made. Which, by the way, brings me to a video or two ago. Yes, I'm building a 302 Chevrolet. A bunch of people commented 327, there's a bunch of different comments or whatever. 302 is what I'm building. So if you stuck around the full, what is it, 12 minutes now? If you're stuck around the full 12 minutes, you just figured out I'm building a little short stroke 302. If you skipped everything and went straight to the end of the video, congratulations. You still figured out I'm building a 302. You won the internet. Congratulations. Oh, and by the way, I fixed the engine stand. I welded up the cracks in the top and the bottom of it. Also did a little modifications to it. I still got a... Whew, that's scary. That furnace is getting a little bit of a delayed start on it to where it'll turn on and then whew, with a nice thud. And it's getting a little bit worse. I have a feeling I'm going to have to take the retention head out and clean it, either that or put a fuel filter on it or something. Anyway, I want to put a couple buttons on here to where I got a button for forward and reverse, or just have a cord running to a couple of batteries or something. That's 24 volt. I might be able to get away with running it off 12 volt, but I got that little 24 volt permanent magnet motor, 40-to-1 gearbox, 1 drive gearbox, and then a set of timing chains. So it's an 80-to-1 reduction. It has quite a bit of torque just running off a computer power supply. It seems to have enough torque to where it should spin a motor over. If I had 24 volts, I'm sure it would, but I don't need it to spin over fast. So that might work and it might not. I've tried it without the motor on it and it'll spin me over. So I don't know. I don't know if it'll spin an engine over or not. We'll find out. If not, I'll probably take that off, move it over to a jack shaft, have another sprocket and then a chain go into a little tiny sprocket, put another reduction in it and get it, it's 80-to-1 right now. So it's 40-to-1, then cut that in half, so that's 80-to-1, 160-to-1 if I was to add another timing chain to it, timing gear set, and that would probably be about right. I don't know, we'll see. I just needed to spin it over like a little bit at a time, and it just seemed like the right thing to do. I mean, I was already welding and I had the stuff laying around, so I figured why not just make it happen, Anyway, so that engine might come off the stand and I might have to see, this is the problem, I need about 5 more of them little engine cradles. I don't know. I need to, I guess, take that engine off the cradle and set it somewhere in the corner or something out of the way. That one needs rebuilt. And I need to get that on the cradle, put that engine on the floor, put that engine on the engine cradle, and put that engine on the stand and start tearing it down. And first I gotta get the damn torque converter off of it somehow. That's the main problem I'm having, is getting the torque converter off of it. It looks like the way that thing's parked in there. Almost. Barry said I could start taking the rods off of it and trying to, but I'd rather not do that. I'd rather keep soaking it in oil and solvent and give it a little tap 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 every day and see if I can't break it loose nice and easy. Like, I don't want to go beating on it in case the rings are stuck in the bore. I don't want to score the shit out of everything. I want to kind of halfway try to pull it apart gentle, because it looks like I might be using this block. I mean, that thing looks good. It's dirty, but it looks good. So I'm hoping it's just seized because all the oil turned into tar. But I mean, I won't know till I start pulling it apart. Hopefully everything's okay and all the bores look good, because on the top of it, I mean, on top of it, the bores looked pretty good. Well, they look better than this one did. This one was pretty good, but it had a couple bad spots, but it was all the way down in the bottom, so it didn't hurt nothing. And you gotta think too, I got a little 3-inch stroke on it, so it ain't gonna be using the whole bore. I only need the top part of it. Oh shoot. So now I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do again. And yeah. So we'll figure it out. There's the long boring video. Hope you guys had a good Christmas. And I will see you in the next one. Well, I'm gonna do some thinking here and figure out what I'm gonna do. Take her easy.